Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are really great people to come out. It's raining. It's not a sunny afternoon in Florida. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's really great to see you. My name is Vero and I will be your moderator tonight. And I see a lot of new faces. May I ask how many of you are here for the first time to Let's Talk Vero? That's awesome. Thank you so much. That is terrific. I also would like to introduce to you to Irina Wolfley and her son Jonathan Buckley. So it's a mother-son team, and they are the brains behind Let's Talk Vero and Vero Minute. And so they and they both are incredibly gifted writers, and they always curate a terrific program for us. And so, you're right there. And Jonathan, okay. Thanks for coming. Just kidding. Thanks for being here. So why are we doing this Let's Talk Vero? For those of you who are joining us for the first time tonight, you know how some things just kind of morph into something, you don't know where it's going to land. And so Irina and I and Jonathan, we thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could have a way to have a friendly conversation with your neighbors and quote unquote engage in what's happening with our community. And so our goal is that we will hopefully enlighten you a little bit, maybe give you a smidge of education. And I know many of you in your professional lives, you've been to meetings, and at the end of the meeting, go home and you go, now, what did they say? So if you leave with just 2 or 3 good ideas or things you didn't know about the community before, I think that will be a successful evening as far as we're concerned. I would also like to reintroduce our panel tonight. They're really terrific because they have been kind enough to do this now for 3 months in a row. July, August, and September. And I really because I had just said to Monty, Irina and I we were really tempted to not have any meetings in August and September because, it's always pretty quiet here in the summertime. So Irina had 140 RSVPs tonight, which is just unbelievable, right? So this gentleman right here is Mr. John Cotugno. He is the mayor of Vero Beach. And I know he has 4 colleagues on city council. And I saw Mr. Voss earlier. If you want to wave your hand, nice to see you. And I saw John Vero. Thank you for coming tonight. And his wife, Tracy.
Vice Mayor.
And Linda Moore. The real boss. Trust me. And then this gentleman here is Monty Falls. And Monty is a city administrator. So I like to think of Monty as the CEO of the city. And so we have 2 great representatives that can help facilitate the conversation tonight. And Irina picked 3 topics: airlines, the growth plan that's right now percolating with the county commissioners for the entire county, and last but certainly not least, we also want to talk a little bit about the 3 Corners project as well. And so basically the way we'd like to run the program tonight, I will leave and I'll come downstairs. And so it's an open forum, just raise your hand and I'll find you and you can ask your question. But we would like for you to talk into the microphone because we are going to videotape it, and then Irina and company will go ahead and post it into the next Let's Talk Vero. Also, Let's Talk Vero wouldn't really be possible if we wouldn't have really nice community partners that help us out. And I'd like to introduce them to you tonight. I'd like for you to meet Kimmy Coveney of Joey and Kimmy's Seafood Market and Restaurant. I'd like for you to meet Mr. Austin Dingle with Dingle Architecture. We snagged some young people from the University of Florida to be architects in Vero Beach. We were just saying, we need more young people.
Right?
Yes. I'd like to meet Christine Hughes. Christine is one of our superstar realtors who realtors in real estate. I'd like for you to meet Morgan Reynolds. I saw her come in. Hey, Morgan. Morgan is the woman behind Beyond the Trend Marketing. And you're also the president of Main Street.
Yeah.
Thank you. So she's working hard to try to make the Main Street happening, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Ed Shanaby can't be here tonight. He's the gentleman that owns Boulevard Tennis and Padel Club. And last but not least, Chris Cronin. You should say hello to him. He's a super talented young person and he does all of the videos. And he is back there? No, I don't see him. They're shaking their heads. But anyway, he is super talented. He's a great photographer and he does the videos that Irina figures out how to post into Let's Talk Vero. So we thank obviously our community partners and sponsors. So it's a treat to have them. Now, not a trick question. How many of you here live in Indian River County? That was, we all do. That was the trick part of the question. If you're like not sure, we all live in Indian River County. So how many of you here live in the city of Vero Beach? Okay, wow, that's a lot. In a minute, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Mr. Falls to just explain a little bit about the difference. I'll just give you the numbers. There are 170,000 people that live in Indian River County. About 17,000, so about 10%, live in the city of Vero Beach. So by process of elimination, that means the other 90% of us live, quote unquote, in the county. And the county includes land all the way out to Blue Cypress, right? And you go out to Behaw Junction, and the northern line of Sebastian, Fellsmere, Sebastian. So now, a fun fact Monty gave us last time, and you should elaborate on that, was that of course they keep track when people call into the city, right? Because they either need to turn something on, turn something off, what have you. Well, they keep track, and they figured out that 70% of all calls into the city are actually by residents that live in the county. Okay, so that means a big part of the population doesn't realize that they live in the county versus the city. And so one of the goals tonight is for us to kind of understand a little bit better, what's the capacity of the city? What's its obligation basically for the other 90% that live outside of the city, right? And the impact, i.e. the airlines, the growth issues, Three Corners, etc. And you know, my friend Danielle, oh, here she is. Danielle is the assistant to the CEO of the theater. Mm-hmm. And I know you said you have a quick announcement, so I'm hand it over to you.
Welcome to Riverside. We are happy to have you here. I have $5 vouchers for our first performance this year, Little Shop of Horrors. If you wish to have one and you can redeem it with the box office, they will be here all night. You're also welcome to take it with you, but you'll need to redeem it in person. And we hope that you decide to come and join us because we are really excited for our first show this year.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. And I know those of you who've been here many times, you've heard me say this every time. So you are sitting in the largest nonprofit small town theater in the state of Florida. It employs more full-time people than any other theater also in the state of Florida. And if you're wondering who this is Audrey II, Audrey II. And you're gonna see her in the show, right? Audrey is a carnivorous plant and she likes to eat humans. And you remember the line from the movie? Feed me, Seymour. And she keeps getting bigger and bigger. So every month we've been here, she started out about this tall. So to see what she looks like when we come back next month. So this is Audrey from the Little Shop of Horrors. So, but the theater is also a terrific community partner. They are gracious to provide the space to us pro bono, and the staff is terrific to volunteer their time. So, quote unquote, the little revenue maker tonight is the bar. So there is no prohibition here tonight. Feel free to drink. And I think the bar will close around 6:30-ish. But anyway, so the bar is open, and the theater is actually sits on city lands, and so we have the city leaders here. This whole part, the land is actually owned by the city of Vero Beach. That includes also the land that the museum sits on, just as a fun fact. And the theater employs about 100 people full-time. And so they're also one of the largest employers here in the county. And the theater produces about $12.5 million of revenues every year. And half of it is actually all generated through donations. Because if you come see a show, kind of mentally rip your ticket in half. Half of what you pay for covers the show, the other half does not. So they continually always need to fundraise in order to, quote unquote, make it happen. And in addition to that, they're good community partners in the sense that they help a lot of the nonprofits here in town, and they give their space also pro bono so they can have their fundraising events here and then net all the proceeds. So that's kind of a quickie start, not so quick maybe, but if you could elaborate a little bit about the city versus the county, and then obviously what you need to do in terms of money, kind of what the obligation is of the city to kind of keep it all going, and what obligations you'd like for the county to share with us.
Well, thanks for teeing us up. Let me just tag on to a couple things. The theater here in the museum, the city charges them exorbitant rent so that we can fulfill our budget needs. We partner with the community and offer these for $1 a year leases, and that's the city's investment in the cultural and artistic faculties in the county. But you mentioned about the calls that we get. When we get a call in the city manager's office, I'll ask my assistant, are they happy or are they mad? If they're happy, I talk to them. If they're mad, I make her refer to something else.
Okay.
But what Vero didn't say is that in River County, there are 100,000 people, plus or minus, with the Vero Beach mailing address. So that's what a lot of the confusion comes from. People see, they get their mail that says Vero Beach, they just automatically assume they're a resident of the city of Vero Beach. So we get a lot of those calls, like we say, around 70%, and a lot of them we just have to transfer to the county so they can get to the right person. But with those growth numbers that we have in the county, 170,000 now, projected to be 220 by 2050, so about 2,000 new people a year that are coming in, and the city's going to be pretty much stagnant with the population. So the big growth issues that are facing the community are not made at the city of Vero Beach, they're made at Indian River County. And because of that growth, it puts a lot of pressure on the city's resources and the city's things that we provide. Because as the county grows, all the people that are going to come for shopping and employment and recreation in the South County are coming to the city of Vero Beach, and we have to react to that. We have to provide police for that. We have to make sure our parks are nice and our streets. And we do that with a pretty lean budget. We adopted a budget last night, rounded up to $36 million. And we support that with just shy of 14 million, 13,750,000 that we get from property taxes. You contrast that to the county, they're having their final budget approval tonight, and their general fund budget's about 550 million. And their ad valorem tax revenue is just shy of 200 million. So it's a little different scale of operation, but we have to be able to provide the things that we do that make it nice for everybody so that when people come to Indian River County, they can still come to Vero Beach and enjoy the things that we have for everybody to do. So it does put a lot of pressure on us. And if you're going to stay engaged and make a difference, you don't need to just come to the City of Vero Beach events. You need to go to your city meetings and your county meetings and let your voices be heard, because that's the decisions made over our friends at the county is what's really going to shape us in the future. So with that, Farabelle, are you
That's great.
ready to go?
That's great. So let's start with airlines. And
Well, you saw the big announcement last week.
Yeah.
We have been talking to American Airlines for about 6 months. The way it should happen. A month before that, we've been talking to JetBlue for about 3 days. They made the announcement. So we're kind of in fire drill mode right now, trying to make sure everything happens. And you've got some questions that you want to ask. I think we'll answer a lot of those as we go.
that'd be great. And obviously, anybody here that would like to have questions as well. Just as a fun fact, many of you here remember Eastern Airlines? Remember Eastern Airlines? They used to fly into Vero Beach. And back then it was a wooden tower. And it was an old dilapidated Eastern Airline logo, and the E was hanging off the hinges. I have that black and white. That's the only reason I know that. So that's just your fun fact, blast to the past. So yes, we've had a lot of questions about the airlines coming in. But I think it'd be great maybe to help us learn how you think you'll be able to handle 3 airlines. And we've read Tony's share said doable. But a lot of people are curious about how's the parking going to work, kind of the sustainability of the infrastructure now, or maybe need to add something. Maybe that's a good start to get the conversation rolling.
Well, I know one of the things that everybody's asked is, do we have to let them come in? When can we say no? The only thing that limits the airlines coming here is the capacity of our facilities. Right now, with the announcement of American, we are at full capacity unless one of the airlines wants to come in between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. So the daytime things are going to be at full capacity. Do we have to expand that? We do not. We can operate our airport just as it is, with the 1 gate, room for 1 plane in the terminal at a time, and 2 planes on the ground. So it's going to be a scheduling issue with the 3 carriers that we currently have. Breeze Airlines is going to have priority because of their schedule that they already have, and the other 2 carriers can work in the slots so that we, in a perfect world, only have 2 planes on the ground. But we know with scheduling, sometimes that is not going to work out so well. If we expand the terminal, we could have 1 more gate, but we'd still only have room for 2 planes on the ground. But it would make it a little easier to get in and out of the terminal. But we don't have to do that. And if we did, that project is right now forecast to be somewhere between $20 and $25 million.
I'm going to start taking some questions. I see some hands. I promise to make it work. And I always say I should put rollerblades on when I do this, so I promise to make a loop. I just saw this lady raise her hand first, and then I'll keep cruising. Here you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out if there's any plans for like JetBlue or American to fly into the state of New Jersey, because, Elite used to fly into Newark, and we don't have that anymore. So there's no plans to have a replacement for that route.
They have not mentioned those. The routes that have been announced are the ones that they have told us about.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. All right. Since you're close, I'll take your question, but then I got to look back to this nice lady back there and keep going. Thank you.
I'm just curious about something. What is the disposition of the St. Lucie international airport that is just a few miles south of us. How come the carriers don't want to fly in there?
That's a question for them. You know, St. Lucie Airport's got great facilities. They've got customs. I don't want to blow her home, but we're Vero Beach.
And it's a good problem to have, right? To be more popular than the St. Lucie Airport. Here we go. Thank you.
Hi, my question is there gonna be any designated area to park, like just for CJ Cannons? Cause you can't get into the restaurant because the parking lot is full for the airlines.
Okay, the parking lot's full and so is CJ Cannons. So they're having great years. We understand that the parking is an issue and the parking is gonna get worse. Until we can react to this. You guys all know we were planning some parking improvements for Breeze, for the current airlines that had committed to us. And now we've had 2 more airlines that have said they're gonna come in. So we're scrambling to react to that. We're gonna have some temporary solutions. I'm talking to the staff about it. As a matter of fact, staff meeting's tomorrow. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna manage it in the short term. We're gonna try to do some policing of the closer parking, the paved parking, and then better take advantage of some of the grass parking we had further away. But it's gonna be a paid parking situation very soon
For CJ Cannons?
for the airport. CJ Cannons is gonna be just fine.
Yeah, paid parking for the airport. What's Melbourne nowadays? $50 a day? And I think Orlando is almost $20 a day. I'm like, you can always Uber to the airport.
I'm just curious, are there enough air traffic controllers to handle anything after 9 o'clock PM?
Yes, the commercial carriers represent about 1% of the operations at the airport. There's 200,000 operations a year in our airport, and about 2,000 of those are the commercial carriers. So it is a very minuscule part of the air traffic at the airport.
It gets all the attention, but the airport is the 3rd largest general aviation airport in the state of Florida. And it gets a lot of private traffic, and also we have 2 flight schools there. So the airline, the carriers get all the attention because of who they are. In reality, it's a very small portion of the actual air traffic going in and out of that airport.
Does the city have the ability of saying to JetBlue that you don't want them in here if they're going to just be flying duplicate routes? JFK is 45 minutes from Midtown. Westchester is 45 minutes from Midtown. Islip, which Breeze already flies to, is in Long Island. So all they're doing is giving you a duplicate of what we have. Providence is in the Boston market. Do you not have the ability of saying to them, hey, if you want to come in, we need you to fly to Chicago, to LA? Do you have any ability of saying that to them?
We live in a capitalist society. It's up to them to determine, what markets they want to fly into. We can't tell them how to run their businesses. If they believe they have the served available market for this area can warrant more flights, that's, all power to them. It's their investment. We have certain rules and regulations we have to adhere to by the FAA because we're, an airport. We adhere to those, rules and regulations, and they have to on how it can become what is quote considered a preferred carrier, and how they can slot their landing, the slots for landing and takeoff. And that's essentially what they have to adhere to. And if they want to fly to, wherever they want to fly to, that's up to them.
Yeah, go ahead. I just don't understand why Vero would allow them to come in if they're going to pretty much duplicate the flight patterns. And it's probably going to hurt Breeze, who I think has been doing a great job.
Let me address that. The city of Vero Beach doesn't control, the carriers. They come here of their own free will. They make a business decision if they have a route that they think that works. We have an obligation because we take federal dollars, FAA dollars, and FDOT dollars to make improvements to the runways and taxiways and terminal building to allow anybody to use it that there is capacity for. So that's when my early statements was that the only thing that controls how much traffic we can have is our actual capacity in our terminal.
So we just couldn't terrible. So there's nothing.
I think you're saying if we take the dollars, we have to allow any airline.
That's correct.
That is correct.
There's the thing.
But if we didn't take the dollars, you wouldn't have that airport there.
Right.
I mean, I just mentioned the terminal expansion. If we add a gate, it's somewhere between 20 and $25 million. If we did it the conventional way, the way we've done it in the past, we could, at a maximum, get 95% FAA funding, 2.5% FDOT funding, and the city would only be responsible for about 2.5%. So we would be in it for less than $1 million if we went that route.
Are you thinking about that?
We have.
It's all
We have-
for discussion.
Yes, we're discussing it. We got the cost in our master planning for the expansion of the terminal. We know what that'll cost, but that's a community decision.
Right, but don't you think you're impacting the community by not being no comments on your work, more proactive for huge growth within a very short period of time? I think everybody would appreciate knowing how quickly could you marshal that plan and get that in place?
Well, I think what we're looking for is does the overall community want the airport to be expanded?
I've had conversations with the city manager, and tomorrow there's more conversation to be had with the airport team. And it probably is going to end up as an agenda item for a city council meeting next Tuesday. Exactly some of what you've asked about is how are we going to respond as a city who runs an airport to the short-term, in some way, unforecasted blip in demand? How are we going to do that short term? Because that's what you have to address now. And I'll ask you as a person who sits on the city council, that as a passenger, to please have patience with the city, because it's really going to kind of be a manually operated system of, parking, because you can't really ramp up a parking, a full scale park like you see in Melbourne or wherever you see, parking facilities like that. So we're going to have to work quickly. We're going to have to be creative in coming up with the short term. It's not even a fix. It's just to keep it flowing, keep the traffic flowing in and out of the airport. There's probably 1,400 to 1,700 plus or minus people a day that be flowing in and out of the airport from information I've been privy to when this thing is going. So it's really, from the city standpoint, I'm having to beg for patience to the citizens and the passengers. Now, long term, that's a discussion we have to have, like Monty mentioned. How does the community want their airport to look like? Do we want to expand to an extra gate? Do we want to have a parking structure? What type of parking structure do we want to have? How is it going to be administered? How is it going to be built? By the way, if we put a shovel in the ground today to build the terminal, it's 30 months, by the way. So it doesn't happen like that. Okay. Do we just, do you go ahead and, do you try to do it on your own? Do you try to do a private-public partnership? These are questions that has to be answered and has to be aired out. And I think the sooner that we get them out to the public in forums like this, and city council meetings and other discussions, is the best way we're going to get the feedback of what the community wants. And what also, I think, from the community standpoint, what the city faces as, you call it an opportunity or challenge, however you want to face this. Is it an opportunity or is it a challenge? Of how we have to do it. It's great to have this, like somebody asked a question, Treasure Coast here. It's a great problem to have to try to meet this demand when there's somebody else is down the road piece and they're begging for an airline. And most airports, by the way, actually subsidize airlines to come in. We have offered and do not pay any subsidies to any of these airlines. They come in here on their own volition and their own nickel, which is a testament to the brand that Vero Beach is. It's a place that people want to live in.
But to add to that, they could leave as fast as they came. So if you're looking at a $20 or $25 million investment to expand the terminal, I want to see personally, for my decision making, is this going to be a real, are these carriers going to stay here? And I don't think you can make that decision based on one season's worth of work.
I've got another question here for you, Monty.
Two quick questions. One, will the flight schools be impacted in any way? And the second is, how much revenue does the city expect to see from these carriers?
The flight schools will not be impacted. And the revenue that we get is based on the amount of use the airline has of the terminal building. So it's not a huge amount to the city. As we move forward and start looking at how our grant situation may change when we get past that 100,000 threshold of passengers that come in and out of the airport. We have some grants that'll change from FDOT from 80-20 to 50-50. We'll start doing some things, adding on to the tickets, a passenger facility charge, I believe $4.50 a ticket. So we would get that revenue in. We would have the parking revenue. There's some things that are happening around the state where we're going to be looking at the amount of revenue we get as a percentage from fuel sales. That's going to be going up. So we could be looking at about another $1 million a year in revenue from other airport operations, and that would help offset the grant loss that we would have.
You go.
Just to preface the situation, I my entire life have been around airports. I grew up 3 blocks from Miami International. I lived in the flight path of Perry and Hollywood. I lived in the flight path of Fort Lauderdale Executive. So I have a lot of first-hand knowledge and experience of how things start one way and turn into something else. I'm concerned why it wasn't super public that there was even discussions with American. I know before Breeze came, we constantly heard about that. And, I kind of have a little bit of an issue with that. And I think some of the things that people are missing is you put this kind of increase in air traffic, especially after we have not adjusted to the fact that we're now an international airport for all the private jets and the increased traffic in that. And I don't think that the citizens that are anywhere in that flight path are being taken into consideration. I know 2 of my neighbors on my street have just listed their house this week and are moving to the west side of Vero. And I think that's a huge part that is not being addressed or even thought of. And when we get into the dollar amount issues of expanding, we have the Three Corners project, which we have no resolution to. And I think we're looking at a lot more debt. And you're saying, oh, this is all going to get financed. Somewhere along the line, nobody has thought about noise, which has increased. Even Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport has certain designs in there for the private jets to not exceed noise ordinances. And we don't have that here. And I think everybody, might not live in a flight path today, but you start having a bunch of jets running around, you're going to hear it. And I think that is not even being addressed.
Thank you.
Let me speak to that. The complaints that we get from noise at the airport are not from the jets. They're from the flight schools. They're from the piston engine planes. As I said earlier, we get about 200,000 operations yearly at the airport. Only 1% of that is from commercial traffic. So we're cognizant of the noise complaints that are primarily due to the flight schools. We've had FAA noise studies done, and all of those fall within those. We've talked to the flight schools about voluntarily altering their flight paths when they take off and land at the airport. Taking off is the noisiest time. We've had some success with that, but we can't mandate where they fly. We are not the FAA.
That mandate how fast they get their elevation. And we have not had
We cannot mandate how the pilots operate their aircraft.
for FAA, there's a certain mandate.
And that's what we go by.
And regarding the discussion with American, yes, the discussion with American has been ongoing for several months, but it's only one flight a day.
Yeah.
The impact to the airport is breeze, but they've been here for a while. We've been beginning to adjust. And let's say, decision made by JetBlue in a period of like 72 hours, to our knowledge. They may have been thinking about it in corporate headquarters at JetBlue for a long time, but didn't make us aware of what they were going to do. It gave us essentially 72 hours notice that they were coming to Vero Beach. That's the impact. That the planes they're flying in and the passenger load that they carry is what's impacting, more so impacting what we need to do at the airport more so than one flight with maximum of, well, depending what plane they're going to fly, 78 to 90 passengers one way. So that's that. So please understand the impact and who's causing the impact at the airport.
Yes.
Thank you. On the subject of duplicating routes, I think people have to realize that JetBlue has major hubs in both Boston and New York. And American certainly has a major hub in Charlotte. So the fact that they're flying into Boston, New York, and Charlotte is really not relevant to the particular markets, because I know for the Charlotte flight, I'm quite sure less than half the people will be getting off the plane and not getting on another plane or starting their route. So for our purposes, it gives people from here an opportunity to fly almost anywhere much easier. And from a tourism perspective, it brings people in from almost anywhere to here. So just to clarify that, the fact that they're flying into JFK or Boston shouldn't be taken into consideration that it's a competition to Breeze, which is a destination origin type of service. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well said. Just in terms of the flight traffic, we were recently at a ceremony at Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary, and it was about, 10 o'clock in the morning? It was constantly interrupted, but they were all small planes. So, I mean, we really had trouble hearing the ceremony as a result of the flight traffic, but it was all small planes. There was no Breeze plane that flew over.
I'm sorry, I'm kind
So-
of just trying to.
No, that's okay.
It's not-
And then also in terms of traffic out west, I am a member of a stable out there where I ride, and constantly the planes are coming in and coming in and coming in. So it doesn't matter whether you're to the east or to the west, you're going to hear the traffic. But again, it's not the commercial airlines. It's the smaller planes.
Yeah, we had the gentleman that's the CFO of Piper Aircraft here a couple months ago. And I remember him saying the reason why Piper is here actually has to do with the climate. And for them, it's a perfect location to fly and test these small planes. And so that's why they've been here for so long. So interestingly enough, it's just the consistent climate that is good to test these airplanes, and just kind of as a fun fact. So I've lived here for 41 years. How long have you lived in Vero, Monty?
44 years.
Okay, so I remember a lot of times, years, when nobody wanted to fly in and out of Vero Beach. And so now I feel like we've been showered with almost too much of a good thing. I mean, it's, it's like almost like a windfall. And I'm the eternal optimist, and I think it has more pluses than minuses, but I keep in the back of my mind that for many years here, if you're nodding along, where we didn't have any airline service. So I don't want to look a gift horse in my mouth necessarily. I think it's great. We have the opportunity to exit here rather than having to travel to Orlando or Miami. And hopefully we can address, along the way, the concerns and try to, kind of make it work. Because I think there are pros and cons to everything. So just curiosity on a show of hands, how many of you here are happy to see more traffic flow here? Okay, wow, that's a wave. Okay. Yeah, okay. There are pros, right? I don't know how real estate valuation might turn out on the positive side, et cetera. So I raised your hands, you're a realtor, so maybe this is a good time to ask you this.
I'm also very optimistic, and I thank you for your foresight to do this for our town. Like she said, I've been here 32 years, and we used to be called Zero Beach. So I like us on the map. We are the Hamptons of Florida. We do need easy access, and I know sometimes there's a pushback on growth. In my humble opinion, and you are the experts, there is a current footprint for the airport. So as far as it getting insanely large or something like that, you're saying that's not going to happen, to put people's mind at ease. I recently flew 4 times this summer on Breeze effortlessly, and I can tell you they all have done their due diligence. Each plane and each area that maybe people think is close to each other or competition is not. Those planes are full in the summer. They are bringing economic growth to our area. They are bringing dollars to our area that will increase wait staff, car dealers, food purveyors, restaurants. Real estate, I truly believe, will go up in value. So if you are considering buying, I would buy now. If you are considering selling, I would wait until January. You are the new things. Life's get very good.
Anyone bring their for sale sign for their house? That's right. That's pretty good. All right. Yeah. She drank the Kool-Aid. All right. She said.
So last time we flew Breeze on the way back, our luggage was delivered on the ground and it wasn't raining. And that was great. It was a cool vibe, but what's happening with baggage claim?
Oh, they're working on the donkey carts.
I'm going to use a real estate term. We are a quaint airport. We have some improvements that are getting ready to get started to make it a little more creature comforts and more flyer friendly in the terminal. But we're going to have some issues until we get the baggage it's still going to be outside, but it's going to be a covered space.
Yeah, and I think I know the meter's running, time is running, so I'm going to segue to what you told me.
We're here for you.
The host?
This thing called, give us an idea of what you think the outlook is, quote unquote, growth. So you hear a lot about growth and either for people like Christine, she's gonna do somersaults. Then some people are saying we don't want any more growth. Real quick, very big picture, Indian River County's growth rate is projected to be about 1.5 to 1.7% per year over the next 10 years. So ballpark, we have 170,000 now. I think we're looking to be at the end of the decade, right around 200,000. And so that math is roughly, we add about 3,000 or 4,000 new humans to our county, kind of at the rate we're going right now. And I looked up the growth rate in other counties of Florida. So that growth rate is by definition moderate. I mean, reasonable. And I, like all things, there are pros and cons to everything. And the growth could certainly be very productive long-term, as long as it's done well. And so how do you see it from your perspective? Within obviously, I know there are limitations in terms of participation because you're the city. And unfortunately, we don't have any members of the county commission here tonight because they scheduled their meeting tonight at the same time after we had already booked this evening. So, we did invite a couple of county commissioners and they would have been more than welcome to join us tonight. So, and I know there's a development going in the South County that has been percolating since '04.
Yep.
And now 21 years later, it's going to start. So just kind of what are your thoughts, having been here so long?
Well, I'll say that I've been involved in this for the whole time I've been here. I did serve a number of years on the county's Planning and Zoning Commission. And at the time, we had some real leaders in the community that were on there that I'm really happy to serve with, George Hamner and Norman Hensick and Dan Ritchie. And I think all of us would say that the biggest thing that we've got going for us here is our low density, low height development. Right. You drive across that bridge heading from west to east and you see the spires, and it lets us know what we don't want to have. Spire's a great place, beautiful condos in there, have some friends that live in there, but that's not what this community wanted. And the city of Vero Beach had the foresight years ago after that happened, to put it in its city charter. So that cannot be changed unless there's a referendum of the voters. And I've had developers come in and ask, what do you think the chances of that are? And I tell the story about Trinity Church coming in and asking to have their steeple exceed the height limit. And we denied that. So I said, when I tell them that story, they get it. So recently at the county, they took a lot of time at their meeting last week to go over their comp plan payment. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty about how they were going to deal with height. And I think they allayed a lot of fears in the community. So I think we were all happy to see that. So the growth in the county right now is limited by what's called the urban service boundary. And that's where municipal type services, water and sewer, are provided. Before that was done, we kind of had this haphazard development plan, and developments happened out in the county. And Christine, you remember that there used to be these subdivisions that popped up, and they had half-acre lots because you could put a well and septic tank on those. And then state changed some rules. You couldn't put those on there, so there started being smaller lots with septic tanks, but there was public water supply. And now everything has to be on water and sewer. That's what's provided in the urban service territory. And it's about the limits of Kings Highway, 58th Avenue jumps out to 66 in a couple points, but everything within there. And there's enough land in the urban service territory to accommodate the growth to 2050. So we've got plenty of land that's still out there that can be developed, that's in there. One of the big issues that's facing us as a community is getting everything on public sewer systems. And the city's been proactive to do that. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten most of ours done, upwards of 95% that we already have converted from septic tanks to sewer based on And I have to give Rob Bolton, our water and sewer director, is a very innovative guy, thinks outside the box, and he came up with this plan called a septic to sewer program. Went to FDEP, got them to buy into it, and that's how we have dealt with ours, because it's a lot less costly, because you're not putting in a deep sewer line where you're digging the roads up 6-8 feet down, damaging trees. You're putting in a smaller pipe that you can put in with a directional bore. It's not nearly as invasive to the environment. But in the county, because they had that the kind of piecemeal development early on, there are 30,000-ish septic tanks out in the county that, based on the state of Florida's requirements, are supposed to be connected to public sewer by 2030. Well, that's physically impossible to do. So there's going to have to be some changes in legislation or some additional time granted, but that's what's going to happen here.
Thank you very much. Let me have you kick off questions on growth. Thank you.
I think this goes to Monty. A woman named Donna Halloran came to talk to the county a couple weeks ago. And she made the commissioners aware of the amount of water, because every county, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, that every county has a certain number of millions of gallons that they can withdraw as potable drinking water.
You have a consumptive use permit that you have to get for your growth, and that's issued by the St. Johns River Water Management District, who's the ultimate authority over our water supply.
And Indian River County, I think, has 15 million gallons per
day
that they can use. And Indian River County is at about 13.5 million gallons per day. And with the growth that, and this, you guys are city, but this is really a county issue. So I'm sorry that I'm really kind of just trying to make other people aware that we are limited in the amount of potable water for our entire county. And once, with all the growth that's happening, will we be able to stay under that 15 million gallons per day? And what will the state do with all the growth? Because it's not just our county, throughout the state, in being able to provide potable water. So there's no question there. It's more of a concern with growth.
Well, there'll be opportunities to increase the amount that they can use. But with those increases, you're going to have to show that you are doing other things to conserve your resources. What we do in the city and the county does also is currently any of our treated wastewater is repurposed and used as irrigation. And then I'm going to use that name, Rob Bolton, again, who we just put up a project that we just made the final payments of that came in about $1 million under budget. And that was a project that he conceived and worked with the Johns Island community to take water out of the main canal that was being discharged into the Indian River Lagoon every day. And we're taking up to 4 million gallons a day out of that. And we'll filter it and lightly chlorinate it and then put it in a pipe that we've got under the river and send it over to the island to use for irrigation. So it's another repurposing of a natural resource that we have, because potable water is what we're going to have that is going to be the critical thing that is ultimately going to control our amount of development.
Where's the next question? It's just also big picture when you think of the county. Picture 325,000 acres and about 150,000 acres are undeveloped. That's almost 50%. So in other words, as Monty said, it's a big county, has a lot of land. And this lady here is the vice mayor of the city council, Linda Moore.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Using our potable water to water our plants and our golf courses and whatnot, if we could find a way to stop doing that, to no longer use potable water for irrigation of our trees and our whatnot, then this problem of running out of potable water would maybe not be solved, but it would be way further years down the road than what it is right now, because this is one of the things that keeps me up at night. And the city, I'm going to say Rob Bolton too, because you said his name so many times, I want to also say it. Rob Bolton, very brilliant gentleman that we are blessed to have as part of our community, coming up with innovative ways to clean wastewater and take stormwater and clean it. And I think the direction that needs to happen
regardless of anything, that I will spend the remainder of my time focused on is how can we stop using potable water for anything other than what it's designed for us to drink and use in our houses. And that needs to be maybe a larger focus, maybe a larger educational focus for humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and rain barrels and, there's a lot out there. I'm not gonna, yeah, this is 30 seconds on it. Yeah, yeah.
Allowing so much resources, and they went to zero exchanges.
Come by City Hall and look at the landscaping around City Hall. We changed it about.
Awesome.
Where's, just came in, now Commissioner Moss, encouraged us to change the landscape around City Hall. And we went to the Florida friendly landscape. It requires a lot less irrigation. So come by City Hall, look at the west side of the building, you'll see that. And it's things we've all changed to. I know a lot of people have converted their landscape, and I have half the sod at my house that I used to, so I don't have to mow it as much. But there's things we can all do.
Or just you ask her for it.
I know, the post office also, that is, Audubon? Is it the post office? Who did the post office?
Yes,
It was Audubon, right? So yeah, the post office is another great example of xeriscape landscaping, and that's just one tool in the toolbox. Just, when that water comes out of your tap, or your hose, or wherever it's coming out of, think about it as drinking water all the time, and then, maybe you'll start to be like, oh, why aren't we drinking water? It's a thing, we have to build some awareness in our own head.
Okay, next question. Coming. Thank you.
When was the last water survey done for our county to look at the water table and contaminants and things like that? I believe it's overdue.
I don't know when it was done, but I do know it's one of the things they're talking about, getting the USGS, United States Geological Survey, to come in and do that. The Soil and Water Conservation District has made that recommendation to the county commission, but I can't tell you that, so you're gonna have to go to their meeting to find that one out.
Monty, last time we spent a fair amount of time on the dollars that are generated on the county side, and the limited participation of some of those dollars that the city has. And so when you think about growth outside of the Vero Beach city limits, how do you see basically the dollars as they are generated on the county side? And if you had a wish list, what would you like to see change so the city could get more participation? And in terms of tax dollars, revenues, et cetera, because you're only 10% of the whole population, but you have a lot of costs to carry.
So this is like my, not my new favorite pet peeve, but here you go. You asked the wrong question to the right person or the right question to the wrong person.
Because you're the.
You remember the statistic you said previously that 70% of,
The calls, yeah.
activities that are in this county that we provide to our citizens are actually used by non-citizens.
Right.
The issue that I had as I finished my 4th year doing this, okay, is that the county refuses to recognize the demand they did put on our city to provide them their recreation. Now, of all that development that you talked about, 20 years dormant, now going to come to life, all the development that's going to happen north of Grand Harbor, where do you think those people go to the beach? Okay. The 2 bridges are in the city. The Oslo Road interchange, all the development down there, those people come into South Beach. They're not going to Round Island. If you go to Round Island, no offense, you might as well go to Fort Pierce. Okay. They're not going over to Golden Sands or the other places. They're coming to Hummiston, they're coming to J.C. Park, they're coming to, I think, the best beach in the county, which is what we call South Beach. The issue is the county growth, which is far outpacing whatever the city can do. The city is basically land that is not growing. We are the county seat. And I always admit this, we were not the first municipality in Indian River County. Fellsmere was, give them their credit for being first, however, a flood wiped them out. And we had some people like this, Waldo Sextons and the Tripsons and the Youngs and the Williams, they founded, become Vero Beach and developed organically the brand that you see it has become who we are. The other issue we have is that not only have the best beaches in town, we also have the dubious distinction. I mean, I know we have a number of boaters here that have the two best boat launching ramps in the entire county. So if you have a boat bigger than a kayak or a canoe, other than going down to the causeway in Sebastian, I believe, the only two boat launching ramps that you can use happen to be in this city. They're Big Williams and at Riverside. And they're more than frequently used by, say, outside the city. The county is not going to put in a boat. Their study said, I mean, again, pet peeves, sorry you have to listen to this, but when you do a survey to put in your county boat launching ramp, and the consultant you're hired, you should give some direction to. But somehow that consultant decides that the best place to put a boat launching ramp and all this associated parking is on the Indian River Trust land. Okay, you have a better chance of a rebirth of someone before that has ever going to happen. So there's no plans for any of that relief to happen. Lifeguards. We spend $1 million a year to put lifeguards on the beach. 7% of the beach is used by non-residents. Beach sand renourishment. There are 8 zones. Only two of them are in the city. One of those zones, by the way, is South Beach, which if anybody knows South Beach is actually getting everybody else's sand. One of the few beaches in the whole country that is actually growing. The main funder of that is the bed tax money. Well, guess who provides 50% plus in the bed tax? The city of Vero Beach. We've supplied so much of it, we're our own zone. So when you do quick back of the envelope math, it looks like we're subsidizing the other 6 zones for the sand off of our bed tax money, of which we can't even apply to get from the county because they don't allow a municipality, which we are, to apply for. So when you look at a city and me personally, I'm not speaking, I can't speak for the other city council people. When I look at managing the city and trying to manage it efficiently and effectively and provide for public safety and quality of life issues, this is what I see. I see how do we do this when we have a county who refuses to recognize what may be a partial responsibility to a municipality. And that has been my ongoing conversation. I've tried to have conversations with a number of the county commissioners. I think they listened, but so far we haven't gotten any results. And I think from our standpoint, especially when it comes to the bed tax issue, we're going to have to take other approaches at maybe in Tallahassee to get what we believe is at least a fair share, or at least a shot to get our fair share. We don't even get insulted by saying we have people say no to us. They just discount us.
John, how much money is the bed tax that the county collects?
About $5 million a year.
Okay. So,
And
so since we're, community engaged, is there anything that quote unquote, we can do the community to start a dialogue?
That's a great question. Someone asked me the other day, or made a comment the other day that, we have to keep coming to city council to drive home the point that the bed tax money and other things from the county should be, you guys should make the point. It's actually the opposite. You shouldn't come to city council. I think most of the city, at least the people I know who currently on the city council, realize the issues we have. You need to go to the county because a majority of the county commissioners don't believe they have an obligation. They believe that this is great. And I'll use an analogy. They're getting the milk for free, so why should you have to pay? And they've taken no action. And when approached to try to combine our lifeguards together, which I know to them at their budget of $1 million savings to them probably isn't a big deal, but $1 million savings to us is a big deal. It never made it off the table. It was going to be an agenda item and it got tabled and never discussed.
So in other words, we have to fend for ourselves and start going to county commission meetings?
It's the county commission, because they, especially when it comes to bed tax, especially when it comes to certain issues. Yes, hey, we want to talk about public safety in the city, buck stops from the city council. There are certain things about your roads, your infrastructure within the city, that's our responsibility. But you want to know why certain things can't get done, or why your millage rate is your taxes are under pressure, why there's only so much money to go around to get certain things fixed. And maybe it's because we're not necessarily getting our fair share. And I'll give you I'm sorry, you got me on the wrong soapbox, but here you go.
Don't worry, we'll
The
change.
next thing you want to talk about, the next thing you want to talk about is 3/4.
Yes.
So I'll segue into that
Okay.
quickly on this issue, the revenue issue. The county from tax revenue, the real estate tax revenue, the county will make more money from 3/4 than the city
What?
from tax revenue. They will make more money from the county will make more money than the city. Emphatically underscored, bold-faced explanation points. And they will supply 0 services. 0. Policing, maintenance, etc., whatever has to happen on that site will be the city's responsibility. So the city will collect whatever their millage rate is at the time this comes online, which is about 20% plus, higher than ours at this point. So I think the city's making a great contribution to this county. Okay. Entertainment-wise, culture-wise, jobs-wise, transportation-wise, and somebody should listen to us.
So I'll have you be the last question on this growth topic, then we'll
Good.
segue to 3/4. How's
Great.
that sound?
So you're absolutely right. All of us who are interested in these matters, we need to pitch up at the county commission meetings. Also voting. We vote for these people who become county commissioners. So that's very relevant too. We need to march with our feet. Thank you.
All right, okay, go
And
on.
I'm taking away, we say yes.
All right, so, gracious segue, from growth to 3/4. And so I know, or you may want to talk about that the, for those of you that may have missed the news, the group that won the bid to develop, needed financing, minor detail. Just a smidge of a problem. They needed financing and they were smart to partner with the organization that was the runner-up because they had all the money. And so hopefully this is kind of a marriage of two good things, i.e. one company that's really creative and has really interesting designs of architecture, firms that are well thought of nationwide, et cetera, and teamed up with another organization that has impeccable financial accreditations, ratings, and they have a deep pocket. So before these gentlemen make any comments, do any of you have a question about Three Corners to kind of start that ball rolling? Okay. I'm standing right here, why not?
Now that you have this new partner entering the game, do you think they're gonna push it all on the design that Clear Path has come up with?
I think that's what the plan is what I say is we got the best of both worlds. We got the Clear Path design, which is really innovative, thought outside the box, had some world-class architects, HOK architects that did the design. And then the blue at Vero, they had as one of their main partners in their group, Madison Marquette, who are big-time developers, but they're also owner-operators. So we got them in the team. And then Trek Capital is one of the financiers. And we have a conference call tomorrow with them and our financial consultant to make sure that the financial consultant has all the information he needs to wrap up his recommendation to us so that we can have that on the city council agenda in early October and get council's blessing to move out of the pre-negotiation period, now that we'll have all our financing squared away, into negotiations. And we'll have that wrapped up as soon as possible, but our timeline gives us 6 months to do the negotiations. I hope it doesn't take that long, but we want to make sure that we negotiate a deal that's the best for the taxpayers of the city of Vero Beach. Because where we can't get revenue, even though we'll get less tax revenue than the county, we have the land. And it's going to be a 99-year lease that we're going to get all the consideration that we can get. The city is not financing this project. They're not building this project. We're not taking on any obligations. So I know there's a lot of concern in the community that there's a lot of debt. Because when somebody sees a $250 million project, it's not on our shoulders. It's on the developers and their financing team.
Any of you have any questions? All right, then I'll ask a question. Here we go. Is there a proposal to provide workforce housing on that parcel right now that the post office uses? That would be one of my questions.
They are considering a housing component on that parcel.
Okay.
As you know, in the conceptual plan for Three Corners, there was no residential other than the hotel or associated with the hotel to be on there. And that's what passed in the referendum. But the parcel over on the west side of Indian Boulevard, adjacent to the substation, is not included in the charter. So there could be some residential there, and they're looking at that. We don't have all the details of that yet, but we have heard workforce housing, but haven't seen those details yet.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about Three Corners? Or just keep asking my questions? All right, then let me ask you what your thoughts are. I read one of the local opinion writers. I won't name which one. And he said he warns that we may be doomed to become urban law. And so kind of my take on tonight is, I don't, just hearing everyone's comments, I don't think that may be exaggerating because I think things can be done measured and reasonably without.
I think, Florida's going to develop. I've been here 44 years, but I came from somewhere else, as most of us did. So Florida's going to continue to develop, but what sets us apart, again, I'll go back to the low density, low height. You can drive from one place to another and drive through Indian River County and Vero Beach and Sebastian and Indian River Shores, and you see it. You know that you're in a different place than what South Florida is, and we're going to keep it that way.
Well, my mother-in-law was born here, and she always tells me that she just kind of raised me up. She goes, nothing happens fast here. So, because when I told her that, we were going to have this referendum for the downtown, which I thought sounded kind of interesting, she just waved me off and she said, honey, I tried that 40 years ago. So, although we're thinking that things are really going at full speed, I think they're just kind of going at this very measured Vero Beach kind of a pace. And I think the height limit was a great windfall. I mean, big picture for this community, right? Thank you to the village spires going up, right? So I think collectively, there are lots of wonderful things going on here. And I'm an eternal optimist, in case you didn't figure that out yet. So you have a question? Bless you, I'll be right there. We need the microphone so you can be on the video. There you go, thank you. Thank you.
I'm just curious as to what relationship you think there is between the airport expansion and Three Corners, and who are the people who we expect to see at Three Corners? Where are they coming from? Can you?
Well, I think the marketing for Three Corners is that there were enough people within a certain radius of Three Corners to justify the development. I don't think Three Corners is being built for tourism. It's going to be a draw for tourism, but that's not what the marketing showed was the need was for.
Since we happen to be in a theater, to dovetail your question, you may have read that the theater and the museum are expanding their capacity, right? The museum wants to expand that. So for a museum to expand, that means you need more walls to show your art. And they plan to add a lot of wall space. And the theater has been, it's not its 52nd year here. And if you look up small town theaters that make it longer than 20 years, that's a miracle. So that they've been around 52 years. And they're planning to be here another 50 years from now. So the theater, like the museum, is also going to become more innovative in the way the property is used. So next door is a big stage called the Stark Main Stage. It seats 650 people. And they can't put more seats in, but they can be clever about how to expand that stage to make it more progressive so they can show more up-to-date shows, because that's kind of what the theater goer wants to see. South Pacific is great to see those old musicals, but in order to see something that's quote-unquote newer and you can afford to buy the rights to, you need a stage that is more innovative in terms of technology. The next door, they're also going to redo what's next door. So where I'm going with this is that this theater, for example, is going to eventually have enough space to actually accommodate maybe a group of 300 or even 400, because part of the plan is to have a big outdoor terrace. Because we don't have really a place, quote unquote, for a big meeting of that size. But so when you think about an organization that will be able to create that space, so if somebody wants to spend the night somewhere, they need a hotel room. And so hence, to your point, the hotel that they plan to build on Three Corners could simply accommodate those people that are now going to have a function here. Maybe it's a big wedding or a big something, and they need now a hotel because they don't have enough hotel space now to accommodate that. So I suspect that, like I said last time, all you do is live, and maybe by 2030, it's right around the corner, 2030. Right, the museum will be done, the theater will be done, Three Corners will be close to, it'll be working along hopefully. But so picture kind of that maybe all these things will converge. I need this extra space for the theater. People can use it. You can now have a more hotel space because of Three Corners, to your point that you don't necessarily need a lot of quote unquote people to come in from outside the community. Why not enhance it for us and i.e. this community?
Tell them about the phase one.
And it is, I'll take this question and then you can do phase one and then we've got a goal. Thank you.
My question in regards to that timing, I realize lots of things can happen, but you've been thinking about it, in a reasonable sense. When do you see an operating Three Corners?
So we'll go through the negotiation and then the developers will get started. And they're gonna build the project, and thank you for bringing it up. The first phase that they intend to work on is the waterfront village, so that the public can have the access to the river. So there'll be a promenade there and some restaurants, a fishing pier and what? A skate park.
A skate park.
Yeah. And then, so that'll kind of activate the site, and then they'll start working on the hotel and the other things as you move to the west. Don't have a time frame from them yet, but I've heard, 3 to 4 years for, construction all the way.
For the first stage or for the whole thing?
For the whole thing. We'll know more as we go through the negotiation process, and we'll push that information out as soon as we get it.
Like I said, just need to live. Just hang in there. That's my plan.
Are you planning on changing any of the traffic patterns on River Boulevard or the bridge?
No, there will be some additional improvements. The traffic is not going to get better when Three Corners gets built. I'm just going to be honest. We're going to have people coming there. But we're going to have access to the site from the south side of the bridge and from the north side of the bridge. So you'll have the opportunity to go there, but it's going to be it'll be a learning curve.
Sure, oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here today. And I just wanted to say I'm a volunteer with the YSF Sailing Association, so I'm very glad to hear about the expansion for that and all the youth and adaptive people that get to be on the water thanks to that. So my question was around environmental impact assessments for the airport and also for the Three Corners impact on the lagoon. What kind of environmental impact reports will take place?
Great question.
But I'll speak to Three Corners, the airport, the impact of theirs. We're not really going to be adding to the major footprint of the airport. But at Three Corners, you're talking about a site that was developed back in the 60s when the power plant was built and the wastewater plant was built. And when it was built, there was no concern for stormwater runoff or anything like that. So as this project gets built, it'll conform to all the new regulations. It'll maintain its stormwater on site before it's, you can, once you've maintained your certain amount on site, you can discharge then. But none of that was in place. We've had environmental studies done. There were no things that had to be remediated at the site. There was some small amounts of some petroleum, but because there's no residential, you didn't have to do anything. The developers will probably do that anyway, but it was nothing that rose to the level of a environmental cleanup.
Monty and John, we thank you so much for your time.
I'll have to ask you to excuse absence for the next one.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, it's this date night.
No, I'll be at my 50th high school reunion.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I do want to give a shout out to Laura Moss, if you want to snag a county commissioner. Ask her. And you can snag her. And since we're a community engaged organization, I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce you to Meredith, who is the CEO of United Way. And this is somebody who works really hard every day to do lots of good things for lots of people in this whole county. And so therefore, without further ado, I thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
Thank you so much, and I will see you again in October, right, Irene?